Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of How I Fixed Your Data. This time with Andrew. Andrew, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you so much. Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Schultz with the Insight Studio. We are a platinum HubSpot solutions partner focused on revenue operations powered by AI enablement, but really powered by the people and the process inside of your organization right now. So we're hoping to help you and your teams get the most out of your data, and Koalify is helping us tremendously. I'm excited to talk more about it.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for the clear introduction. Could you explain a bit more in detail what you do exactly then? If you combine processes, people, revenue operations, like what are your typical clients, your typical projects?
Yeah, so as the people in your ecosystem probably understand already, the HubSpot environment is quickly evolving and changing. And we've been partners for over 6 years now, and we've seen a lot of those dramatic changes. In the beginning, we created high-end marketing strategies for inbound operations, and now we're really focused on, as again, people probably know, and if you don't, leveraging loop marketing to really create an end-to-end solution for not only marketing, but sales, service, operations, and so much more. Specifically, we do that by diving in and using the audit, optimize, and implement strategy. We've got to know who's who in the zoo. We got to know how your system works. Then we try to fix it with the current tools or current tech stack to a point where we're at least working in a better way so you can get more out of that current system, more juice for the squeeze. Then finally we say, hey, can we implement some changes? Have you heard of this? Have you heard of Koalify? Have you heard of AirCall for calling? What about an automated system for X, Y, or Z? So the client is the North Star, right? And like a dog with a bone, as long as we pull all that information out of them, we can always stay aligned to help them achieve the outcomes they're looking for.
Okay, nice. Very nice description of the services that you're offering. And do you have a focus area or specific industry that you're targeting?
Well, starting out from the beginning and still today, we are a HubSpot fully focused shop. We do implement with Salesforce primarily, but we love to find clients that have Marketo, Pardot, Salesforce, insert client X, rip and replace, right? Implementations, integrations, and migrations is our primary focus, and that covers all avenues when it comes to different verticals. But we are very quickly becoming industry leader experts when it comes to insurance implementations, as well as the first or second agency in the 7,000 partner HubSpot ecosystem to implement HubSpot's new CPQ, configure, price, quote, payments tool. So with that in mind, we are Commerce Hub experts as well. But we love to work in insurance, we love to work in commercial real estate, and a lot of our work has been, you have HubSpot, you're using it badly.
Yeah.
To that end, I'm also called the HubSpot Janitor. So check out HubSpotJanitor.com, which is hilarious. It just goes back to our main page, but there's a persona there waiting to get built out, I tell you.
Okay, I'll need to check that. But the HubSpot Janitor, so I assume that that's also related to challenges, data challenges that you face within your HubSpot clients portals. Could you maybe highlight the challenge that we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, today we're going to be focusing into the commercial real estate space. And the number one thing that you have to understand when it comes to commercial real estate is ownership, agent ownership. If you own a lead versus if I own a lead, at the end of their conversion journey for that initial purchase, you will get more commission versus I. And so commission-based structures and companies and organizations that leverage commission to incentivize sales reps, you have to be crystal clear when it comes to contact ownership. So understanding the industry. That's one of the first things when it comes to commercial real estate. I actually, in my undergrad, took a real estate training course and became a certified real estate agent myself because it was cheaper. This is a great story. It was cheaper to take this commercial real estate training course and become a real estate agent versus taking another 3-credit class in my college. So in addition to the classes I was taking, I became a real estate agent, quickly learned it wasn't exactly for me, but I still love the process, I love the data. So we're diving into commercial real estate today. The major problem, again, we're seeing is if I own that lead versus you own that lead, at the end of their journey, the commission structure might not be perfect. The second main problem that comes, again, and this is me understanding commercial real estate, coming from a real estate background, but also really digging into that client and understanding their problem. Agents brokers, but specifically agents, they move laterally across different brokerages pretty aggressively. They don't update on a lot of the channels that we can publicly access. What is their valid email, right?
Okay.
But they do always keep that phone number, typically 99% of the time. We're seeing some that don't. So in this case, we had a unique opportunity to deduplicate agents, right, who can be strategic partners, either as a seller or a buyer agent, knowing that you move from Berkshire Hathaway over to agency B or agency C a lot quicker than you do, say, in other industry verticals. So that's the main problem. We can't let these teams lose their money, because at the end of the day, agents live on commissions. So that's what we're going to dive into.
Okay, interesting challenge. And how did you approach it? You clearly mentioned that you focused strongly on the client, so you started with interviews, understanding the problems. What did you do exactly, and what came out of that first phase?
What's nice is, as a HubSpot first agency, we had the ability to audit their portal. And from that full holistic picture, I was not only able to say, oh geez, you have over 2,000 duplicates, and that's the max that HubSpot's deduplication tool internally maxes out at on a daily basis. So that's a red flag, right? I was able to identify that early. But then I also was able to look into the data and see historically that they're manually on a quarterly or yearly basis, again, because there's a lot of internal turnover. Remember I mentioned the agents. So this brokerage had a lot of internal turnover. So as a new person came into the organization, they did or they didn't carry a penchant for data hygiene. And I saw on the back end quarterly merges, right? So I saw a behavior. Then as you mentioned, I did interview. And again, I lean onto our audit, optimize, implement framework. I didn't only audit the portal, I audited the team's process. I audited a day in the life to see how they currently operated. And I found that they're doing a lot of outreach directly to brokerages to get a list of their lead agents to find out. And again, in the real estate world, when a new listing hits the market, a lot of times the new listings are by a new agent. And this is, again, in the Northwest where I'm based, Northwest United States, there's massive swaths of land. And there's renters and there's families that are selling off little pieces. And as a family member comes to age, one of the first jobs, if they're not ranching, they become an agent to sell off some of that family land to get some of that commission, because why not keep those commissions in the family, I guess, but it's also, I think, a springboard into the industry. So again, interviewing the people, understanding the process, auditing the tool holistically gave me a very transparent view into saying, wait, you're trying to sell to John, or you're trying to make John a strategic partner. John's not getting that email, right?
Yep.
John's not getting that communication. If you call John, he'll tell you, but John's not going to say, yeah, and my email is now at Berkshire, not at, Allison Chalmers or whatever the other agency is, right? So it's something that people don't think to mention, because you can still connect with them. So we had that data bridge. We identified that bridge.
Okay, cool. And one of the issues that came out of the audit was, of course, the duplicates, at least 2,000, probably more. So how did you tackle the duplicate problem specifically?
So in the beginning, again, 6 years of legacy on my shoulders and my back, I built a very robust deduplication process with other secondary and tertiary third-party data tools, and I was about to use them. And it's a process where you do a massive export and you do a massive import and upload, and the process runs, and then you have to re-import the tools, and you have to import a new property and segment the data back inside of HubSpot on that property. And I was close. I'm pretty fast at doing that. And then I discovered your tool, right? And I'm not sure if the timing was exactly like that. I maybe was already using your tool for other clients, but in the past, this was a friction point for our agency as well, right? It took someone a number, not too many hours, but it was man hours and time. It was human-powered time to really create a manual and automated process. And so in this case, I said, let's keep it as simple as possible in the beginning. Let's use the out-of-the-box deduplication tools that the Koalify tool set offers us when it comes to first name, last name, email, or first name, last name, phone number. And we didn't use that for duplication to start. We actually used that for additional auditing because I wanted to show the team, listen, you have 2,000 plus potential duplicates that HubSpot's showing us, and HubSpot is our source of truth when it comes to the data. But now let's segment that further. Just like a good marketer, I'm further segmenting the data to get a more refined picture and a more accurate response. And I said, let's just look at contacts, first name, last name, email. Can we trust it? Can't we? And I actually had the team and this is how a lot of old school people work. They printed out a spreadsheet of the 280 first name, last name, email contacts. And the gentleman, the broker, with a pen and paper went through and said, you know what, I do know Jim. I do know Frank. I've never heard of Sydney. Circled that one. And that because there's so much money involved, 12 to 15 million plus dollar average deal size, it's worth their time to physically check. And I helped them through that process to the point where they trusted that we could do it automatically, which is phase 2. Phase 2 where I said, okay, now let's layer a little more complexity. So broker 1, and I'll show you this in a second here. Broker 1, let's have only owned by you because we have tiered brokerage ownership inside of the system as well. And so we did a first glance, looked at them all, audited, manually looked, and then we broke it down to ownership. Broker owner 1, broker owner 2. No owner for broker 2, 3, 4. No owner for broker 2, 3, 4. And then finally I was able to say we now know based on our form submissions on the front end, there's a third data field that we can leverage inside of the system. Contact type. Are you a broker or not? Tell us more about you. And contacts are responding and telling us upon most recent form submissions. So not only do I now have a third fork in the road, which I'll show you, contact type is broker, but we also had and merge the latest form submitted contact. Because we all know that when you're submitting the latest form, you are using your most recent email. You are using your most recent contact type. So we had a number of variables that we layered in. And it sounds complex, and this is what I love to show the team, which we'll jump into on my side. It's not complex, right? It was quite simple to use the out-of-the-box tools and then just layer a little of our internal logic that we learned from the client into the system to really make a robust, ongoing process.
Okay, awesome. Would love to see that. So feel free to share your screen.
Okay. So just starting in the Koalify overview settings, if we look at the duplicate rules, again, these are the out-of-the-box contact duplication rules. And in this case, we're not really merging companies, deals, and tickets, and it's something we're exploring. But the data integrity is pretty strong across companies and deals, and this client isn't using tickets at this point. So, and they're not using custom objects, but it's an opportunity. I want them to use listings. For now, though, the rule named email, right? Very, very simple. Hey, does your email match your email? We're never actually using that one, but you can see it says there's 10 contacts. And this is, again, I use this kind of as a finger on the pulse. Hey, team, look at this to further explore how many duplicates do you have that we can trust? And how many duplicates overall, because there seems to be opportunities to further kind of dig into this. What's great, though, is I use these rules in conjunction, as I'll show you in the workflow, with HubSpot properties as well. Because say first name, last name, mobile number, right? Very simple, out of the box. If your first name matches and your last name matches and your mobile numbers match and you're at one of our test contacts, right? I take that rule, and I'm going to jump into a workflow now so I can kind of show you. Yeah, first name, last name, phone number. It grabs everyone that matches that first name, last name, phone number deduplicate rule. But then we say, and your contact type is any of agent brokerage. Because again, knowing our database, Andrew, the agent, came in 6 months, a year, 2 years. This client has leads up to 20 years ago he will not let go of because there is potential opportunity. Right? When you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars, 20 years is not that long, I guess. So that being said, there's a broker from 20 years ago that came into the system, Andrew, with same phone number, because again, in the Northwest and in some parts of the United States, you have to keep your cell phone number. That's like a big deal for a lot of carriers. Keep your number, even if you move state to state. So phone number is the same, but you're a broker, and we know that you move laterally. So we're able to use this out-of-the-box duplicate rule, first name, last name, phone number, or mobile number, or city, and then layer that into additional HubSpot data. So very, very simple usage. But even if I take a step back, just using first name, last name, phone number, we built that out as well, right here, where it's just just that rule, first name, last name, phone number. And then you'll see again, we could not just say these 72 contacts that have first name, or these 2 right now that used to be, thousands. It was incredible. First name, last name, phone number, 2. The client still could not trust that we could just merge Andrew Schultz, same phone number. Because what if that contact was not a shared contact, and contact 1 was owned by Andrew because of a form submission recent, but contact 2 was owned by you from 20 years ago. And then all of a sudden you merge the 2 contacts, and that's where the ownership issue comes in, right? Wait, that was my contact from 20 years ago. How dare you say that you own that contact? It's not a shared contact, it's mine. And so again, based on data integrity, this is where we built an additional property, and I didn't mention it before, but are you a shared contact, yes or no? And so inside of our system with additional workflows based on form submission, lead routing, are you an individually owned lead? Meaning, are you a person that's only ever talked to Andrew? Or are you a shared lead where you talk to Andrew and team member 2 and team member 3, team member 4? The only contacts that this client is letting us automatically merge are if they are shared. Because if they are not shared, they're going into them manually, and they're looking at these 2 manually, and it might be the same person, but they have to add an additional personal, physical layer of validity, and it's kind of biased, right? And say, wait a second, this contact's owned by you, Andrew, from 20 years ago when you imported it, versus this is a net new contact owned by your team member, and they're not shared. They've actually had conversations like, tell me about this engagement 20 years ago, and it gets a little sticky, right? Because who owns it? Who is the source of truth? But the biggest point to make, and it's again something I'm sure that we all in the data world know, is where is the source of truth? And in this case, we really do rely on those personal relationships, the historical data, because these agents and brokers, 5, 6, 7 businesses, 5, 6, 7 past personal relationships. So we really have to build a robust system, but then gate it. Whether it's gating it based on contact type because we now know that it's robust on the latest form submission, or gating it based upon, yes, you are a shared contact, because we can only touch that percentage of the database that's shared. So very simple, but the ramifications, I think, have been just incredible for this client, because in the beginning, I said, and I taught them, here's the HubSpot out-of-the-box deduplication tool. Here's the 2 Andrew Schultzes, the same phone, same email. Click review, add additional information, right? What was the original source so we can see if they're from an import, add secondary numbers. And I timed them, right? I said, hey, here's a stopwatch. We were on a Zoom call. I was like, go ahead, merge these contacts at a rate that you feel confident, and now let's scale that out to the 2,000. And it was like, oh, okay, 26 hours of time, of human time. Totally fine, right? And they're happy to jump right in. And I was able to take that 2,000 automatically down to less than a couple hundred. And you can see now, based on those rules, there's 2 and there's 72. So they're still physically editing the very end, but this is the 80-20 rule, right? Yep. We have eliminated 80% of the problem so they can focus 80% of their time on those 20% issues to really get them out of the way, so we can eventually have 100% data integrity, which turns into money for these agents, right? Yeah,
that's awesome. I can completely understand that it's very sensitive, the contact ownership, making sure that no duplicates get merged that can't be merged. So therefore, the extra granularity and the extra properties that you can use are very important to you. Then you already hinted to the outcome for your clients. Do you have an idea of how many records you actually merged and how long it then took to get to close to 0 today?
Yeah, so there's 2 other workflows I didn't show you. I broke down that shared contact ownership, and then additional workflows are agent owner 1 only owned, agent owner 2 only owned, agent owner 3 only owned. So we went from 2,000 were showing on across the 4 different rule sets: first name, last name shared, first name, last name brokerage only, first name, last name contact owner 1, 2, 3, and we went down to, I think it was sub 300 now, because it was dramatic. And now that I see that team, now they have it sub 70, it looks like 72 on one, 2 on another, so they're less than 100, and that's within a space of, they're not doing this all day or every day, right? They're doing this on their spare time, and agents and brokerages, they're running around driving to these spaces. So they tell me they're barely spending any time on it. So I would guess in less than an hour of their time, and a couple hours of my time of coaching, training, learning, investigating, was able to turn around the system. That now this is ongoing. These workflows are on, right? When an Andrew come into the system, he's automatically now getting merged if he matches that data set and that rule set. And it gives that team not only the ROI when it comes to time, right? They're paying them a lot of money to sit there and not do their job, right? Of talking to a landowner, helping them do transitioning for a transitional wealth, not talking to an excited husband and wife or a family that's looking for their next opportunity to grow their family. Instead, they're doing data hygiene. It's kind of sad. So it really, in my mind, in this new age of AI and everything else, this is still a people-powered process that makes us be able to focus on not only what we're better at, but what we like. So for them, it gives them trust. And it saved them a lot of time, because I said, hey, I'm happy to manually deduplicate those contacts for you as well at my agency rate. But they and I both knew that would have been an erroneous use of time. So I was really excited to find the solution for them.
Awesome. So everybody wins. Cool. Then what are some lessons learned to this project and to other projects that you did with Koalify?
Yeah, so I mentioned, as you saw in the first page, they're not using custom objects. With other real estate and commercial real estate clients, HubSpot's new listings object as a custom object is really powerful. I actually had built listing objects as custom objects in the past, and even before custom objects, used a deal pipeline to track specific listings. So with this client and for other clients, just thinking how an additional custom object for visualization and association can really create more opportunities, because this shared contact issue and this contact ownership issue, it potentially could be mitigated if we could further associate it to a specific listing or property. And right now, those listings and properties, they are based on lists that are populated from forms. But if we had a custom object, I could use that custom object in an additional rule to say, but if you're owned by Tower Junction Keep or whatever, we know that that's an Andrew contact forever and ever because he's selling that property. So that's a lesson that I learned is, we can now use an additional custom object. Potentially the custom object is where the source of truth comes from, right? Because in this case, the listing, everyone knows that Andrew's selling the listing. It doesn't matter if you're a shared contact, there's no history of it. You submitted your form for that listing and you're interested in that associated object. So that's one takeaway, and I parlayed that into another vertical, and it's specifically associated on custom objects, the insurance industry. And so the lesson I learned that I took to an insurance client, which we should talk about on another one of these adventures together, is leveraging the associated custom object policy back onto the associated contact, and then using that to potentially create an additional contact object. The example in this case is you buy a car insurance policy, and I just bought one for my daughter. I own that policy. I am the policy holder. But the policy coverage is for me and my daughter. And so when an underwriter, and with our system we built, the underwriter writes back into HubSpot onto that custom object policy the associated contacts. And it confirms, yes, Andrew is a policyholder, and it confirms that as the associated contact. But it then creates an additional record on the policy object, daughter one. So with Koalify, we were able to say, let's deduplicate contacts based on that custom object, that third-party custom object policy, to make sure that we don't overwrite Andrew, but also flag if that custom object has a second associated, and we used it on a single line text, so it's like they write contact to name, contact to email, to create that secondary contact object. And it was doable with HubSpot's out-of-the-box workflows, but then we had it actually created its own mess of duplicates that we were able to deduplicate again, because policy ID is a unique identifier and it's written on both those contacts. We had a couple different daughters created. One of them didn't have a policy ID. One of them did. We were able to deduplicate that second daughter that didn't have that policy ID from that custom object. So it was great for us to be able to not only leverage the out-of-the-box contact company deal objects, But with this real estate client, looking at how listings could have optimized it, I've taken it to other clients, and I'm leveraging that learning as well. So it's cool to be able to share that and kind of help other clients with other clients' issues.
Yeah, nice. It's always interesting to share learnings across industries and across clients. And we should have another episode on that other use case as well, maybe in season 2 next year. Cool. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we round off?
I just would like to thank you for having me on this, for building this tool. You've identified a problem that a lot of us in the ecosystem are facing, and there's a number of other solutions, and it seems like this one, based on me trying, I like to try before I buy, trying a lot of different tools over a lot of years, it's working really well, and not only that, it's getting better. I think before the call we mentioned the fuzzy rules and the updates that you and your team are making on the back end. So it's exciting to watch kind of the product grow and be a part of it. So I'm excited to help make data clean. Whoever thought that being a data nerd could be so fun?
It is. We all like it, and it's very cool that we can make our jobs out of it. So, but thanks to you, thanks for partnering, and thanks to our clients, we're able to build a product. So based on this feedback, we continue to grow and develop the product. So, thanks a lot, Andrew, for joining the show, and wish you good luck.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks, everyone.